Well, it's that time again. It is time for our monthly market update here in the real estate market for the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm Callie, the broker and owner over at Ritchie Realty. And if you've been following along, you know that every month we bring you this data so that you can see what's happening with sales prices, what's happening with inventory, what's happening in the real estate world when it comes to North Texas. Well, speaking of North Texas, we're going to take a little bit of a twist to our monthly market update now and going forward. And we're going to dive into the super local markets. So today we're going to start with what's happening in the Alliance area, which is involving Keller ISD and Northwest ISD. And then next week we'll go into North Dallas area, Plano, Frisco. We'll go into South Lake. So journey me along. Make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel and to all of our socials so that you can stay in tune with what's happening around the Metroplex. All right, well, let's go ahead and start diving right on in. And let me get up to our little screen here and move us back a little bit. Okay, so this is our April 2025. Here we go. Let's get started. What I really want to take a look at is the new listings right now versus how many sales are happening in the Alliance area. And this is really interesting because every little local market is a little bit different. So I think it's really important for us to get super local. But as you can see, this is taking us back from 2020 and moving us up to the scale of where we are today. And you can see in 2020 when COVID hit, we had more sales than we had inventory. So yeah, it was a tough market there for buyers to get in. Now, 2021 didn't really get any better. I mean, if you consider 4% more listings that are new listings hitting the market than sales, well, not really. It was really eating up a lot of the inventory, the existing inventory that we had. Forgive me as I put my glasses on so I can see the data a little bit better. Now, look what happened in 2022. 26 more new listings hit the market versus how many homes were being sold. Again, in 2023, 21%. And look at this jump here in 2024, whopping 38% more new listings hitting the market versus sell. And today we're at 55. And I don't want you to get too concerned about that because this is seasonally going to do change. Typically, we're going to have more inventory hit the market during the spring season, but we should see those sales pick up, and we're going to take a look at that here in a minute. Nonetheless, what is significant here is we're seeing this big rise of inventory. And I think what happened is the sellers were getting so like, oh my gosh, let me get my house on the market and capitalize on what's happening with sales prices, so I can cash in on some of that equity. So we had even more sellers hitting the market, and then it was like, whoa, what happened? And I can tell you last year, about May, June, it was like a ghost town out there of buyers. Right. We've been struggling to get buyers through the door, and we're going to take a look at that. But you can see it's because the sales have been trickling down. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but let's go into what that correlation has meant when it comes to sales prices. So we started in 2020, back in COVID at 285, and we hit the peak of it right in 2022. But when that inventory started to push up, remember we were at, what is that, 26% more inventory than sales? Look what happened with our sales prices. We started to taper down. We went from 412 to 398, 395. Now, again, the 385, don't let that bother you right now. We'll monitor it as we go on. I have a feeling, and I'm pretty confident that we're going to see that price start to jump up because we always have that bell-shaped curve when it comes to prices in the market based upon the season. Now, I know this might concern some of you because you're seeing the prices come down, but it's not horribly significant. It's something we're going to pay attention to. It's something that we're going to follow, but it's not just like catastrophic where we had a market crash, like the bubble market crash. We're not there. So now let's take a look at the correlation on how that's working for our active inventory, because we've got more inventory consistently hitting the market. Well, guess what's going to happen to and when we have less sales, that means we've got more inventory that's stacking up on the market. Look what happened in 2022 when interest rates, and of course, this is when interest rates really kind of hit their peak. We went from like 2% interest, 2 point something in January in 2022, and then we went shot all the way up. So look what happened here. We went from 152, 190, 515. Then we went to 434. So we've kind of been hovering between that 500 active inventory. This is great news for those of you that are looking to purchase a home. You've got way more options to choose from. Isn't that fantastic? Now, for you sellers, means you have more competition. So as we talked about, as sellers get more competitive in their pricing to get buyers through their door or to, they're having to move, we see that there could possibly be a correlation with the sales prices. So something to think about and keep our eyes on there. Now, what about that days on market? And again, this is where I really think education is the most powerful tool that you can have in your tool belt. And so please make sure you're paying attention because I feel like I cannot speak about this enough. It's our days on market have started to shoot up. Again, that correlation when we saw that inventory spike up on the market is when we started seeing that spike up on the days on market. So we went from 6 days on market. That's incredible. Remember, people were lined up to get into a house. It was crazy. We would have 30 offers in the first day. It was insane. Now we have gone to 44 median days on market. It's a significant difference. Something, again, we're going to continue to look at. But for you sellers, just know that that has been, look, for the last 3 years, it's been on the rise, right? For the last 3 years, we have seen the active inventory rise. Okay. For the last 3 years, we have been seeing sales prices start to trickle down. There is a direct correlation to what that supply is, to what's happening with our active inventory sales prices. And we can go on, right? Now, this is something, again, like I said, you buyers, pay attention, get in the market now. Interest rates will fluctuate. They'll come down. And as a matter of fact, they've started to come down, and the projections are we're going to continue to follow suit on a downward slope of interest rates. So the deputy chief economist over at First American says that this means more homes on the market and more options for home buyers, which is good news for a housing market that has been underbuilt for over a decade. And you heard me say that. It's not just the COVID years. It was before COVID. We have not seen this kind of inventory on the market in quite some time. So great opportunities for you buyers. Now, I know you're wondering, well, what's going to happen? What can we predict going into this spring season? Easter's right around the corner. This is our second quarter. You can already see the leading indicators right here is the pending listings or the pending count is on it as it continues to be on a rise. We'll look at the data come March. We only have it through February, but we've already seen that trend going up. So it's going to be interesting to see what that pending inventory or the homes that go under contract, because those are going to impact the sales. So, for you, okay, here's a good one. For you realtors, I always want to throw in a little nugget for you. Or for homeowners that have had their house on the market and it didn't sell. Well, guess what? Look here. You're not alone. You are not alone. As a matter of fact, these are our expired listings, homes that didn't sell in just those three zip codes. And look how many. Almost 3,000 continuously across the board, over 2,500 across the board. Just this year, just in the last 3 months, 611 homes have expired. Now, think about this, okay? Because if we go to how many listings, let's go back here for just a second, that have hit the market, you can see new listings are only right here. Let's see here, 2876, 2731. We have just about as many expired listings that hit the market every year, every month. So if you're a realtor, go with these, the sellers need your help, and sellers, you need a great agent that's going to help you understand how to price correctly, understand how to position yourself in a competitive market, because remember, you're competing against almost 3 times the amount of inventory, or at least 2 times the amount of inventory that we've seen. You need to look well. You need to present yourself well through staging, through photography, through a great agent, and pricing is critical because when we are on a downward slope on prices, and again, it's not so significant, but you don't want to be back up here. You're going to miss the mark. And if I can tell you almost every expired listing that I go to and with my sellers, there's a few components that I can look at. And that is, why is this going so strange? I'm so sorry. And that is going to be presentation, um, the staging. That's also going to be the photography, the marketing, the agent, and pricing, the key components. So, and also I have to say this, because we do have some sellers that want to push the margin, and sometimes it's okay to push the market. Make sure that you've got an agent that is understanding what's going on in the market and maybe listen to them a little bit, because I have seen some of our sellers that will want to push the market and price on the higher end, and guess what? They're still sitting on the market, versus those that are pricing correctly will be able to sell. Remember that days on market that we looked at, 44? That's where we're at, guys. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Hopefully you found this valuable. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of that. If there's a certain area that you want me to cover, a certain topic you want me to cover, we're going to talk about tariffs. We're going to talk about, inflation. We're going to talk about, is there a big bubble? Are we headed to a crash? Are we headed to a recession? Stay tuned for the next market updates. Again, I'm Callie. Thank you for tuning in. And sayonara, Sarah Lee. Have a happy spring, a happy Easter. Take care.